Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day, comes to you from London. And we start, as always, by looking at currencies. Then we'll look at global stock markets, commodities, some US tech stocks, and some UK stocks in the FTSE. So the dollar is continuing to decline. Again, this is very much on Yellen's comments. Really. Markets have priced in multiple interest rates in the US this year, and it's looking less and less likely that we'll get that. Interestingly, the daily chart is really the key here, and for the first time now we're deep in the cloud. It's the first time for quite some time. So, are we about to see a sea change in the dollar? This is the real question. I think the big thing also is that we did break this weekly chart, so we've got this really important line of action around the sort of 99.60 level, and so the key thing is will we go below that, a few weeks below that, and then maybe these upside targets are over. We've got a new downside target for the first time on the medium term chart. So, and we have quite a big downside target here to 99 and 98.50 even. So we are seeing these downside targets emerging, but these upside targets are not being negated yet either. So the dollar could go either way, but for the moment, it's just looking a little bit bearish. That's translating into the euro looking more bullish, but again, we're through on the price, but not yet on the lagging line. And ultimately, we're still not bullish until this lagging line spends a good few days above the cloud. So too early to say. Looking at the Japanese yen, much the same picture, dollar weakness there as well. And sterling, we're seeing sterling recovering, but not yet at all above the cloud. So that's quite interesting as well. Looking at the euro sterling rate, we see here that we are also just recovering a little bit with sterling just stronger than the euro. So sterling has seen quite a lot of strength, and against the Swiss and the Australian dollar at 161.29, but still a lot of downside targets there. The S&P 500 index pulled away just at the end of the close last night. To close slightly down, but we are still above the cloud, so that is bullish. And the same with the Nasdaq, we're bullish there as well above the cloud. The Dow Jones index just below the cloud, so again we just pulled away last night. And the Russell is still just putting in a recovery, prices just coming back above the cloud there as well. The S&P future down very slightly, and the Nasdaq E-mini up very slightly. The FTSE 100 closed at a new record high yesterday. Get used to hearing that now. We're in a new uptrend and we've broken previous long-term levels of support. So record highs is something you're going to hear a lot about on the FTSE 100, especially with the weaker sterling. A lot of profits, UK companies reporting stronger sterling profits. And we're seeing here upside targets now all activated. So FTSE looking very strong, although it's down very slightly this morning. FTSE 250, much the same picture, of course, breaking to new highs there as well, with good upside targets. The DAX didn't have such a good day yesterday, but is still bullish above the cloud on all three time frames. Just a general shortage of targets on the DAX. We've got some good short-term ones, but the long-term charts, just shortage of buying thrust, which is a little bit disconcerting. The Nikkei index we're seeing here is bullish on all three time frames. Again, the weaker dollar, stronger yen is probably just having a little bit of an effect there. We're down 1/3%. Just can't quite activate that upside target there. Hang Seng index was up very, very slightly, but is looking bullish all round. Right, clearly through on the weekly cloud now, breaking these previous highs, breaking the February high this week, looking pretty good. And the Shanghai index just pulled back last night. So we're still not quite bullish yet on the long-term chart, but looking okay. Sensex looking great on all three time frames and activating these new targets, just trying to break to a new high here. And the Indian market, we're seeing the Australian market is also looking pretty good as well, with lots of good short-term upside targets there. Brent crude just still struggling at this low 50s level, finding support on the cloud here at the moment, but price is through, so this is a bit worrying. for Brent crude prices. Just keep an eye on that 51 level. We spend a few days below 51, and certainly through the psychologically important 50 level. And we've got downside targets of 47, 48. So it is still looking pretty bearish for Brent. WTI, much the same picture. And it does look like this might have been the early run that we see in the new year. Very little, nothing of it. Normally we get stronger than that. So inherent weakness coming through on the crude oil charts. Nat gas below the cloud again, just heading back into these 290s, low 290s. Didn't quite spend much time above 3, looking pretty bearish in the short and medium term again. Copper is bullish now on all 3 time frames. Coffee, we're seeing here, coffee is bearish in the medium and short term charts. And if we look at something like cotton, bullish all round on cotton, so that's one soft commodity that's breaking the trend. Wheat is also bullish on the medium and long term charts, but not on the long term, medium and short term, but not on the long term. And corn is much the same picture. Gold is holding this level that it's jumped to this week. We're sitting at 1227 at the moment, so that's pretty good. We are holding on to these levels. Weaker dollar, stronger gold, that's what we would expect to see. Silver doing much the same thing. US 10-year Treasury yields sitting at 2.53%. Just come off a little bit again on those Fed comments. Apple still bullish above the cloud. Google also looking pretty bullish above the cloud. Amazon not looking as strong in the short term, but still looking pretty bullish, just a bit flat there. Facebook looking really good, just marching up the hill. Closed at 139.99 last night, just couldn't quite hold that 140 level. But we've got these targets to 141 and 140.72. And again, lots of upside targets here to play for. So really a strong looking picture there. Microsoft still above the cloud there as well. Looking pretty good. Nvidia really coming back, so it will be interesting to see whether I sold these too soon. Looks like they may well recover, but I will now wait for them to make a new high before saying that was a consolidation pattern. Meanwhile, the stocks that I did buy have done pretty well this last week. Taking a look at the FTSE. We are looking at Royal Bank of Scotland, looking a bit stronger this morning, just getting back above the cloud. Interesting that there might be a recovery going on here. That possibly was the bottom on RBS, but we've still got work to do to get through this cloud. We have got upside targets here, as much as 14% upside, but the short-term picture is still pretty mixed. And so it's too early to call a clear recovery. We remember that house builders weren't doing so well yesterday. Well, they're looking a bit better today. Taylor Wimpey just nudging new highs there on the short-term chart. We still have quite a bit of work to do on the weekly to get through to new highs. Prudential looking very, very strong. Really big sharp rise this week, a really amazing move there, and 18% upside, 17% on the medium-term chart. Just breaking out of this sideways range. It just shows you when stocks break out of these ranges what actually happens. Banks having a good morning generally. Barclays up as well. Barrett, house builders looking a bit better this morning. Barrett, Persimmon, all there. Taking a look at the laggards, we've got things like Fresno, Hill Farmer, M&S. Retail still having a pretty bad time of it. Bearish on all 3 charts there on M&S. United Utilities looking not so good this morning, but still above the cloud on all 3 charts. So it's all about where do you fit in the charts. And we look at Rangold, just falling again this morning, back into that short-term play there. But just keep an eye on these charts. And until next week, happy charting. See you then.